Let us go over to,
Law number 4.
yes. So this is 48 laws of power in prison. Number 4, always say less than necessary. When you are trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear and the less in control. Even if you are saying something banal, it will seem original. If you make it vague, open-ended, and sphinx-like. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish.
Yeah, it's a great law, and just going over my notes here. The first thing that I wrote down when I revised the law was, if you want to learn about somebody and you want to learn a lot about somebody, just listen to them, and they'll chat away and chat away and chat away, and they will just reveal so much, because most people are open books. And I said it on the first podcast, when you asked me what advice I would give to somebody if they went into prison for the first time, and I said, don't talk to anybody. If somebody engages you and talks to you, then be polite and civil, but don't talk to anybody. If you know, eye contact in prison it's a thing. You know, if someone engages you in eye contact, you know, hold their gaze, don't show weakness, because you show that tiny bit of weakness, they're going to prey on you. So yeah, just listen to people and you will learn so much about them. And then on the reverse side of it, don't, you know, if you're in these environments for the first time, just don't be a chatterbox, because you're gonna bury yourself, Shaun. And there's a quote I wrote down from this law, and I think it's fantastic. So it says, oysters open completely when the moon is full, and when the crab sees one, it throws a piece of stone or seaweed into it, and the oyster cannot close again, so that it serves the crab for meat. Such is the fate of him who opens his mouth too much and thereby puts himself at the mercy of the listener. And what came to my mind straight away when I read that was parole board hearings and talking to probation officers as a long-term prisoner. Now, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of parole board hearings in England and Wales every year. And in America, who lock up more people per 100,000 people than anywhere on earth, I can't imagine the numbers of parole hearings they deal with over there. But men who go on these parole hearings bury themselves all the time by talking too much. And you will not know that you're talking too much and burying yourself, because the 3-member risk-averse parole board panel, who you have to you know, bypass to get out. They've got your life in the palm of your hands. They would just be nodding and smiling sweetly at you, and you just won't know, Shaun, that you're burying yourself. So, I mean, a parole board hearing is not a situation where I would promote being open-ended or sphinx-like or vague, you know, but you would talk about in a parole hearing your hopes, your dreams, and your future. But with what you have to do, you have to say less than necessary. So people, when the parole board asks them a question, they ramble and they go on and on. And because there's no panel reads a 2,000-page dossier, they go by instinct. They will read a few key reports and they'll go by instinct. But people bury themselves because they go on and on and on. So what you have to do what the law says, and you have to give short, specific answers that answer the question and have an impact. So you would say to me, why do you want to go to a rehab, which I'm looking at as straight release rather than 2 years in a semi-open prison? And I would say, because all of my crimes are drug related and I'm a drug addict, and the residential rehab mom has the expertise and the professional staff to help me with my addiction, and the DCAT establishment doesn't. Short, specific, has it impact, answers the question. And that is not to say that there is not a time and a place, Shaun, for a 2 or 3 minute speech. But if I was doing that, I'd be talking about hope and dreams and my future. Do you know what I mean? And then, like, on the landing with probation officers, now currently in modern 21st century Britain, in the criminal justice system, I don't know how it happened. Chris Grayling, the cuts, austerity, the continuing screw-ups of successive failing justice secretaries who are absolutely clueless about the criminal justice system and don't have a law degree between them, and who have educational backgrounds in Edwardian Elizabethan history and agriculture and fiddling expenses. But like, these people, it's just so bad, the probation service, that we've got ourselves into a position where they are running the show. They have all the power. You have 2 key reports. You have inside probation and outside probation. It don't matter how much of a model prisoner you are, how long you've gone without ever having the luxury of having a bad day, you know, how exceptional your prison disciplinary record is. If they don't recommend release, there's not many parole boards in the land that are going to release the person. Probably none. You know, it's so difficult. So when you see these people, and you don't see them all the time, it's hard to get to see them. You will have a 30-minute window, a 40-minute window to impress them, to win them over. And it's very difficult. And it's took years and years and years for me to learn how important this is. And it's helped me with negotiation skills and stuff like that, tapping into people's vanity, you know, the master and the art of indirectness. For me to ask for something off you, Shaun, then I have to preferably indirectly point out to you how what I'm asking off you benefits you. Yeah. So when I go in with these probation officers, when people go in there, they bury themselves because they say too much and they're rambling and going on and on and on. Now, within your dialogue, when you're rambling, when you start showing denial, minimizing your index offense that you went to prison for, not taking responsibility, blaming others, do that in a parole hearing and it's game over. You're not going home. There's no way you're not going home. You know what I mean? So the fundamental rule that I kind of go by now in those situations is to not, with a probation officer, I'm talking about, on the landing, on the yard, is to never volunteer anything negative. What you've been up to? I'm going to the gym, I'm meditating, I'm building a relationship with my family, I'm doing my open university, I've entered 2 writing competitions, things are going really well for me. Why am I going to offer negative? Now, the other thing that is very important is, relevant to this law, with regards to people burying themselves without the self-awareness of saying too much, saying, you know, more than necessary, is with regards to security intelligence. So if you've been away 20 years, I mean, you can have 100 security entries. Yeah. If you've been away 5 years, you could have 20, 10, you know. Now, a parole board, if you've got a lot of these security entries, it's intelligence. So you haven't got an adjudication or a governor's report or any documented disciplinary procedures against you, and it's not even a write-up. It's security intel, and then it'll be graded A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4 as to how, you know, if a CO saw you walking down the landing with a joint, you know, that's going to be an A, a 1, because he saw you. Yeah. So it's like, you got this security intel. Now, people read it, they go on the parole hearing or they talk to their probation officer and they say, they minimize it and they deny it and they go, oh, that's not true. People are stitching me up, snitches and all that. And again, I reiterate, you go on a parole hearing and do that, you'll bury yourself. So the correct answer to when the parole board says to me, without rambling and saying too much, the correct answer when the parole board challenge me, because they will challenge you on it, about selling tobacco on the wrapped wing, the correct answer that's true, Mom. And I'm not advocating admitting things you haven't done, but I'm saying, like, if you have done it, the correct answer is that's correct, Mom. And you spin it into a positive. So that's correct. That did happen. But I'm really grateful for this experience, Mom, because this experience taught me that running around the prison being dishonest and breaking prison rules and, deceiving people and getting people into debt and the power and control that gives me, that is very similar to the behavior that led to me coming to prison in the first place. It's the same power and control that I get from drug dealing, and it's the same as breaking the law outside. And without this experience of getting caught for this, then I would have never learnt. This wisdom. So I'm really grateful for learning this and moving forward. That is how you answer a challenge on selling tobacco to a 3-member risk-averse parole board panel. To the point, specific, that has an impact, no rambling, yeah? And you blow them away with an answer like that, Shaun. Blow them away.
The more you talk, the more your words can be used against you. Why arm people so that they can take you down with your own words? Classic, extreme example of this is Brendan Dassey. If anyone has watched Making a Murderer, so the state of Wisconsin has put a guy in prison for 18 years, Stephen Avery, for an attempted murder rape that he didn't do. He's got exonerated after this long struggle, and he's about to get 30+ million in compensation when a local woman goes missing, Teresa Hallback. So, rather than pay him 30+ million, they put the murder on him. The first check was on the governor's desk. Now, they've got no proper evidence against this, and they've got nobody that they're interrogating who can corroborate it. So they got Brendan Dassey, a teenager with a limited IQ, snatched him from his school, told him, we'll let you go home and watch WrestleMania if you just confess to killing Teresa Hallback. And that's what he did. They just coerced him into doing it, and he couldn't keep his mouth shut. When I started getting protected by the New Mexican Mafia, they said, look, if you get pulled over by the police leaving our house, you can tell them you're in a hurry. I don't want you to search my car. If you're going to charge me with something, I'm exercising my right to remain silent. My lawyer's Alan Simpson. That's the lawyer I later got for my case, who did wonders for us. So someone did get pulled over leaving the New Mexican Mafia's place, and she just couldn't keep her mouth shut, and I never saw her again. So when you are in a situation like Brendan Dassey, I mean, they said, because they knew that the police knew she'd been shot in the head. So they said to Brendan, what did you do to her head? What did Stephen do to her head? Stephen Avery, the co-defendant. And Brendan just says, have we cut her hair? Because that's how innocent he is. Yeah. Like, no, Brendan, what did you do to her head? We punched her in the head. And then they're like, no, Brendan, just tell us who shot her in the head. Was it Stephen? And he goes, yes, Stephen shot her in the head. Now, everything that came before that was left out.
Yeah.
So in court, they said, quote, quote, Brendan Dassey, Stephen shot her in the head. Got ya. His own words used against him, framed by the police. So you can put all this, you can say all this stuff before you say the one thing that sinks you, and all that stuff that you say will not even be counted.
Yeah.
They'll just take the one tiny little thing you say and sink you with that.
Yeah.
And that's what they did to that poor kid, and he's still serving a life sentence to this day. And I've written a book called Unmaking a Murder about this.
Mm-hmm.
Each chapter is one of the methods that the police and the prosecutors and the authorities used to frame these two innocent people.
Yeah, I've got it on my Kindle. When you did the giveaway at Christmas time.
Yep.
And I downloaded them all then, and I put a few onto my mum's tablet as well. But yeah, it's another. Just listening to you there, it just reinforces the critical need to have presence of mind, mastering emotional control, mastering self-discipline, and controlling your tongue. You know, very, very, a lot easier said than done, Shaun, you know, easier said than done. But, you know, genius is perseverance, you know, practice, repetition, you know, just, you know, you work on these things, and you make a you know, an effort, you make you know, a daily effort, set yourself little goals and targets. You know, I'm going to keep my mouth shut today. Do you know what I mean? Just keep your mouth shut. And at the end of this law, wrapping it up, Robert Greene's wrote Keys to Power, like he does at the end of every law. Power is in many ways a game of appearances, and when you say less than necessary, you inevitably appear greater and more powerful than you are. Your silence will make other people uncomfortable. Humans are machines of interpretation and explanation. They have to know what you are thinking. So be very careful and disciplined in what you say, and carefully control what you reveal so they cannot pierce your intentions or your meaning.
And there's a quote from Shakespeare that ties into this. Thou doth protesteth too much. You get people who are guilty of a certain thing.
Yeah.
And they start putting all this info 100%. Out there that's the opposite. So
that's true, yeah.
In prison, quite often, you'll see someone running his mouth saying that guy's a snitch, trying to get everybody to go and beat that guy up.
Yeah. Starting rumours about people.
But at the end of the day, the guy calling him the snitch is the snitch. To try and hide that he's a snitch.
I've seen that all the time.
Or that guy's a sex offender.
Yeah.
So that's why in prison there's a saying, show us the paperwork.
Yeah.
So if you're going to accuse someone of something, you better have the paperwork on that guy's case to back your claim up. Otherwise, you're the one that's going to get attacked.
Yeah.
That was the rule.
Yeah. Yeah, and that highlights the... I mean, it's not like that here in England, in the sense that in prisons in England and Wales, I mean, just do not underestimate the potential, you know, damage and conflict that can be caused from a rumour. And this is something I noticed and observed during a long-term imprisonment. Was I met a couple of people, and they were experts at doing this kind of stuff, of just starting little rumours about people, spreads like wildfire. And this is one of the techniques that they use to isolate a man and turn the people close to him against him, and with the aim and the objective of making that person self-destruct without ever laying a finger on them. The velvet glove, you know. It's so rumours, starting rumours, and unfortunately, I suppose we don't have those kind of politics in these prisons in England and Wales, where there's consequences for doing that, because it is wrong, isn't it? It's wrong to start rumours about people.
I've seen it use a deadly effect. So if you're watching this, you're out in the world, how's this going to apply to your life? Whatever kind of a situation you're in, you know, job interview, talking to somebody about, you know, whatever you're trying to achieve, don't give them more than is necessary, because it will just be used against you.
Yeah, just quickly on that point, Shaun, what you said there is it's spot on, because what I said about the parole here, and exactly the same in a job interview. You know, what are you going to bring to my company? I'm going to add value to your company, sir, with my experience in the retail sector. Very simple. Do you know what I mean? That is more powerful than me rambling for 5 minutes, you know, with the multiple opportunities within that 5-minute ramble of dialogue to bury myself. Yeah. Because I need to say one thing where that person can just be like, no, this is not the guy. You know, I'm going to add value to your business. I'm going to boost revenue, and I'm confident I can do that. Check my TripAdvisor reviews.
If you were applying for a job with Escobar and you rambled, he would just straight whack you. He says, this guy's hiding something.
Yeah, he definitely probably whacked me because I'm a chatterbox. So. Yeah.